So here we are back, probably with the last round of Cycle of Eternity. So this is episode 4. Just to give you a brief overview, we have Monterey Jack in the hall facing a zombie. We've got a ghost over here, which is also in range of Monterey Jack. We've got Father Mateo and Vincent Lee in the attic together with our friend, Caroline Fern technically is in another world now because she moved through the rift and she's trying to solve a puzzle. So she tried, unfortunately I gave her 2 tries, which was actually wrong. She would only have had 1 try, and she hasn't managed to do it, so the end of the investigator phase is now upon us, and now it's the mythos phase. It could be that the game ends now, I don't know. Evil energies in the air suck all light and hope away. Place darkness in each investigator's space. Then each investigator suffers 2 face down horror, so let's just do that. 1, 2 here. Now these 2 are actually negated because we have a light source that we're carrying. Let's do some will checks. Let's start with Caroline Fern. Her will is 5 and she's also focused. And she has 1 success, 2 successes, which is enough to negate this. We have Father Mateo, his will is also 5. He gets 3 successes, which is enough to negate this. We have a focused Vincent Lee, whose will is 4. And he also gets 2 successes, which is enough. I'm rolling really well today. And lastly, we have our friend Monterey Jack, whose will is 3, but he has 1 additional die while resolving a will test. And he gets 1 success. And he is focused. So we're just going to... No, are we going to do this? We're actually going to take 1 face down horror. And that's that. So that is the end of this. The wind whipping around the portal begins pulling whole chunks of the mansion into the other world. Each investigator and each monster in the dining room. There is nobody in the dining room. Kitchen. Nobody in the kitchen or office, which is down here as well. Moves to the nearest space in the lounge. Each investigator who moved suffers 4 damage. Then discard the dining room and office tiles and all tokens and cards on them. Okay, so unfortunately, this means that our friend Eugene probably didn't make it. So I really like this mechanic in that it's actually, literally, the house is falling apart. So they're doing this really nicely. So we really need to get a move on now. Continue. The ghost moves 1 space towards the nearest investigator, which is our friend here. Then it attacks the investigator in its space who has suffered the most horror. Well, there is only Monterey Jack, really. The monster attacks. Let's see how it attacks. The spirit begins walking slowly toward you. You feel a sudden roiling nausea and the urge to flee becomes overwhelming. Test will. We get 4 dice and we need 2 successes. We are focused. And we get 2 successes, so nothing happens. If you pass, you fight back your fear and stand your ground. The zombie moves 1 space towards the nearest investigator. He's already in range because he is in the same spot as our friend here. So he's going to attack. The corpse raises its arms and charges forward, jaw gaping with rotted teeth. Test strength. Now our strength is 5. And we need 2 successes and we get 2 successes. Nothing happens. We pass. The Shoggoth which is over here, moves 2 spaces towards the nearest investigator within range. 1, 2. The monster attacks. The creature thrashes toward you. Bits of flesh ooze, splattering your face and body. If you pass, you swallow your fear and throw yourself out of the creature's path. So we have to test will. And we have 2 successes, which means we pass. If you pass, you swallow your fear and throw yourself out of the creature's path. Flip 2 damage face up. We have no damage. Each investigator, now we have to resolve 3 horror checks. That's going to be fun. Let's check the ghost first. Resolve a horror check. The spirit cries out in terror. The walls are closing. Looking around, you realize that the room has indeed grown smaller. Suffer 2 horror. Will -1 negates. We have 3 dice. And we get 1 success. And actually, I don't know what darkness does. And I'll have to check quickly. Darkness. We cannot spend clues. So we have a clue, but that doesn't help us. So we actually suffer 1 horror, which brings us up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that didn't work. Next up we have the zombie. Resolve a horror check. The corpse's throat lets loose a choked sobbing sound as it walks inexorably towards you. The sound is a despairing echo of a forgotten human life. Suffer 2 horror. Will +1 negates. Now our will is 3. We have, at the Holy Cross is 4, and we have +1. And we get, 5 successes, so we're good. Nothing happens. Last but by no means least, we have the shock off. As the creature moves, it sloughs off some brittle, desiccated flesh. The discarded meat seems to writhe and scream of its own accord. Suffer 3 horror, will negates. Wow. Yeah, we'll just have to read. This one came out, so that doesn't matter because it was... so we take 2 horror, which means actually Monterey Jack has gone insane. Now, I don't play with the insanity cards simply because it doesn't make any sense, because I play on my own. And insanity cards actually contain conditions, winning conditions, that you should keep secret from everybody else. Now, since I'm on my own, there isn't really anything I can keep secret from myself. So the way I play it is Monterey Jack is eliminated. So that's the end of the mythos phase. And now we have 1 more investigator phase to solve this issue. We're going to start with our friend Carolyn Fern. Sorry, and the skill is law, and we have 3 law. And we managed to solve it on the first guess. Puzzle completed. Okay. Let's see. What we can do. You decipher the arcane script and it reveals the secret of the cult's magics to you. You believe that with this knowledge you could reverse the ritual using the cult's own circle. Discard this interact token and place an interact token as indicated over here. Okay, so Caroline Fern has had one interaction, one action. So now let's check out this one. A circle of runes is carved into the wooden floor and adorned with various ritual objects. It was recently used to create a rift, but you think it could be used to reverse it by applying information you have gathered about the ritual or by using your own occult knowledge. Let's see. What we're going to do is, first of all, she has one more action remaining. So she's going to she's going to use this to make Vincent Lee discard one face down horror, which means she is done now. Next up we have Father Matteo. He is going to his lore is 4 and his will is 5, so he's going to attempt this, perform the ritual. Picking out details from the evidence you have gathered, you perform the encounter ritual to the best of your ability. Test lore. Our lore is 4. We get 3 successes. You may discard any number of evidence to convert an equal number. We do have evidence, actually. He has the circumstantial evidence, which allows him to turn this investigation into a success, which is good. So we have 4 successes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Confirm. You recite the chant and perform the motions. You feel energy shift in the room. The ritual is closer to completion. Only closer to completion. Okay. All right. We're going to do a trade action. We're going to give the grotesque stone evidence to Vincent Lee. And he's focused, he's going to try this again. His lore is 3. 1, 2, 3. He's also focused. And he gets 1 success, and he's going to discard his grotesque stone statue evidence, and he's going to add 2. Confirm. And perform the motions. You feel energy life, a shift in the room. The ritual is closer to completion. Continue. Okay, so the father is going to take... No, Vincent Lee is going to take 1 more shot at this, using 3 dice. And he's going to focus. He's going to discard his focus condition to get 2 successes. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is actually keeping track of how many I have already done, or if it's because no one has more than no one has more than 4 law, 5. No, does anybody have 5 law? No, not on my team. So yeah, that's essentially it. So I'm not quite sure if this actually keeps track of any previous tests, or if you have to do it, if you have to give it like, I don't know, well, 4 in one go wasn't enough, which is strange. So we have one more go with the father for 4. Yeah, and he has 1 success. That's not going to help anyone, but we can... Yeah, okay. So that's going to be interesting, because now we're done, and now all of these yolks are going to... Well, they are not in range, which is good, so they're going to move closer to us. So, yeah, let's see, confirm. A dark projectile hurtles into Vincent Lee, knocking him off balance. Vincent Lee suffers 3 damage. Strength -1 negates. His strength is 4. He gets 2 successes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, he takes 1 damage. Then he becomes dazed and stunned. Dazed. You cannot spend clues to convert dice results or perform additional puzzle steps, and he cannot perform more than a single action during your turn. Now that sucks. Okay, continue. The portal expands rapidly, consuming the sky above the mansion and tearing more pieces of the mansion from the structure. Each investigator and each monster in the study or bedroom moves to the nearest space in the library or hall end. Each investigator who moved suffers 4 damage. Nothing happens. So these get removed. As more of the estate is sucked through the rift into another dimension, a second massive being with strange alien features steps through the portal and into reality. Spawn a Shoggoth, as indicated. The ghost moves 1 step up to 1 space to be adjacent to as many investigators as possible. 1 step. No investigators in the space. The spirit calls out, but there is no one to hear it. The spirit vanishes and reappears elsewhere. The ghost moves to the nearest space within range of an investigator. Yep. Okay, this is the last. The zombie moves 1 space toward the nearest investigator within range. No investigator within range. The zombie moves 1 step. Oh, sorry, I should have also done this for the ghost. There isn't anyone in range. No investigators within range. The Shoggoth moves 2 spaces towards the attic. 1, 2. He is now in range. Continue. The Shoggoth moves 2 spaces, this is the one, towards the nearest investigator. Then it attacks the investigator in its space with the most items. Well, it is in the same space as our friend Carolyn. The monster attacks The thing flows towards you, then launches dozens of slapping tendrils out of its body. Suffer 3 face down damage. Agility negates. Let's see. Her agility is 2. She is focused. She will take 2 damage anyway. She takes 2 face down damage. She has 4, which means she is wounded. And if you're wounded, you cannot perform more than 1 move action once each round. That's fine. So that's okay. It's not ideal, but she doesn't really have to move around that much anymore. Oh, for each damage you suffer, drop 1 random item. So we're gonna roll a die. So she suffers 2 damage. So she drops her key, whatever that old key is. I've no idea what this was supposed to do. And then she also drops the whiskey. Okay. Now we have to do horror checks against the Shoggoth. Confirm. As the creature moves, it sloughs off some brittle, desiccated flesh. The discarded meat seems to writhe and scream of its own accord. Suffer 3 horror will negates. Okay, let's start with our friend Caroline. She has a will of 5. And she gets 3 successes. That's more than enough. We have Father Matteo. His will is also 5. He gets 5 successes. And we have our friend, and he gets 2 successes, so he takes 1 horror, but he's still fine. Okay, good. So that's it. Confirm. So I'm not sure how we're going to do this now. We're going to do this again, this time with Caroline. Now Caroline is going to allow our friend to discard 1 horror because she can only perform 1 action because she is wounded. Father Matteo is going to try this again he's going to focus himself, and then he's going to try and do this using lore. And he's going to use his lore, and he's going to use his focus, and he's going to add 3 to this. You have completed all of the necessary actions and chants. You speak the eldritch words and complete the encounter ritual. Energy surges from the ritual circle, and the rift knits closed in front of your eyes. An eerie quiet falls over the mansion. It is over.
You finish the incantation and scatter the last of the components across the cult's ritual. You finish the incantation and scatter the last of the components across the cult's ritual circle. For a moment, you worry nothing will happen. But then, a sickly green energy leaps from the circle and surrounds the shimmering gateway. As you watch, the ragged edges of the portal knit together, sealing off the other world, leaving no evidence it was ever there. A meteor, the official story says, ironically struck the home of amateur astronomer William Vanderbilt. You alone know the truth of what happened that night. But who would ever believe you?
And that's the end.